Uh, Hi, I'm Ashley. This is my mom, Rosa, and I have a son named Trey. He will be 10 years old in about 3 weeks, and he is diagnosed with Prader-Willi syndrome. So we'll go ahead and get into the questions we have for each other. So let's go. Let's see. What advice would you give me about raising the boys?
As a matter of fact, you should be giving me advice.
I do from time to time.
I know, because, and I've always complimented you how I appreciate how you're raising those boys. Micah, who is 7 now, and like we said, Trey will be 10. And so I've always complimented you that you're doing an outstanding job, especially with Trey's condition. And even when you had to, you were detailed out of town, and I had to keep Trey and Michael and the medicines that he's on. And, I would be a little nervous about it and could call you and you walk me through it, even though you've shown me and I have my card, but still I'd be kind of nervous about giving him the shots that he was taking. So like I say, you're the one that have to give me advice because even with the diet plan, Trey has a way of getting to your heart, and you want to give him some of the things that he asked for. And even when my mother, his grandmother, she was even worse than me. So as far as spoiling Trey and letting him get his way.
Oh yeah, you remember when we saw the dietitian and we put 2 and 2 together, and we figured out that Trey was basically conniving all of us. He was getting like 3 breakfast meals, and none of us knew, because he would come to us and say, the other person said, I haven't eaten breakfast yet. And so we kind of figured that out. But you can't help but to just love him, those little eyes when I'm hungry, I want something to eat. But we're hip to it now. So
and even you remember too at the lunchroom how the lunchroom ladies just gave him what he asked for.
He asked so lovingly, and and gives you compliments on your food too to get it. So it's like, oh, your food is so good. Thank you for giving me such good food. Can I have some more? But it's tricky. But we've definitely overcome that. Let's see. What does the future hold for me and Trey?
I think the way Trey has been, because I don't know if that question has come up about the next day when we found out the diagnosis of how Trey, that very next day after he was born, and I went to the hospital, and that's when the doctors detected, say something was wrong with Trey, and they had to put him in. He was not responding and turned blue, so he was admitted to the NICU, and that was kind of a crushing blow. But even throughout that time, he stayed in the NICU for about 2 weeks. But the way you've handled over the years, and I know even when the genetic specialist within that week, and they called us in after the genetic specialist a week later figured out that he had this Prader-Willi diagnosis, which I never heard of it. And me working at a hospital, I talked to nurses, they never heard of it. And even some doctors had never heard of it. So, but I started reading about it. As a matter of fact, even during that time after he was diagnosed, there was something on TV that you told me about.
It came on something on Discovery or something, but it was a documentary that came on that was about Prader-Willi the same time, like the day or two after I had him, and that was magically there. It was really crazy. But yeah.
It really was. And so the way you have managed to deal with Trey, and even having Michael after he came along, and being a single parent, I think that so far things have been going good. I mean, there have been those moments, because with the eating disorder, and he didn't develop that till probably around 4 or 5, and then started having the meltdowns. So, but even at that, I think that's still a blessing. It was kind of hard at first when he started having it. But, and then how he would hide food, and I find wrappers behind the sofa or whatever. But I think him being almost 10 years old now, and even now it seems like and I know there's a experimental drug or something that they're using at this time where he hasn't had a meltdown in a while, and he's even being more polite as far as with the food, the eating disorder. I think at one time, just recently, he told something you left out, and he told you you didn't lock it up or something, where he acknowledged that.
he
So,
told me.
yeah, as if I know I got this, but I need you to do your part where I won't lose control, be tempted by. So I think by the grace of God, that in the way you've handled it all these years as a single parent, and I've complimented you many days of how well you've handled Trey and discipline, as far as with the food, the eating, how you have that under control as far as not to leave things out that's going to tempt him. But I think, and I've told you that Trey, the Lord has something great in store for him because he loves the weather, and I just admire him. He watches the Weather Channel. He lets me know when I don't need to go out because it's a tornado coming and it's going to be bad to flood. So I think that you're doing a great job with him now. And I think I've always told you that Trey, I don't know what he's going to be, but he's going to be somebody great, just the way he's carrying himself now and the way he's impacting a lot of people with his personality.
Let's see. What are your hopes and dreams for me and the boys?
Well, I think
and that's kind of
piggyback on what I just said in my hopes and dreams, that, and I know you are smart, you're very intelligent, you're very professional, and even what you're doing now, how you're juggling. I know you're president of a local Prader-Willi branch, and the way you're doing that, your job, even now with school, doing virtual school with the boys, because I know if they called you into work, I would have a hard time as a grandmother, and getting through that. So you're handling that, and then the way you're doing these orders, strawberries and different little things you're trying out. And I think in my future, I mean, my hope for it is that you will continue to excel in what you're doing. And for Trey, I already know that he's going to do something great in his life.
He's already got like 5 job offers on the table already as a 10-year-old.
Yes.
Everywhere he goes, he's asking for a job.
And I thought about Jersey Mike. They actually gave him the apron and the hat for him to take home with him when he was at post. And he said, no, you all hold that till I come back and work for you when I turn 16.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know, but yeah, he's got the lined up.
So God, he's gonna do something great, because already he's portraying. He's demonstrating that he's gonna, because he's smart and he's intelligent, and with his personality,
he's extremely outgoing.
Yes. So,
see, do you remember what was going through your head when you first heard the PWS diagnosis?
And I think that was the next day. I kind of mentioned that it was
when he was diagnosed, like a week later.
Yeah, a week later, when the genetic specialist called us in after she had done her study and the chromosomes and so forth, and told us, and it was kind of like crushing, a moment of sadness when she explained the problems that they go through or would eventually go through. And I remember, but I wanted to keep a positive attitude for you, because I knew it was probably more hurtful by you being a young mother at the time. And so I think I even told you, we're just going to take each day at a time. We're not going to worry about tomorrow, 5 years from now, 3, each day, and you'll get through. We'll get through this together, because you have a support system. You have me, you have your grandmother. And so,
that has gotten me us through. So
yes. And so it was, and then I wanted to, why why did this have to happen to my grandchild? You know, that's so beautiful, this beautiful baby that was born, and why, you know? And he's supposed to be a healthy, and I guess that's what all mothers hope for their child, if they're healthy, you know. And that was one of my prayers, that he would be a healthy baby. And then this hit, you see things happening to other children or babies, but you don't think it'll happen to you. So the initial was kind of a downer, but then it was like, well, why not? Why not? Why not my grandbaby, you know? So it just gave me a new perspective on life and babies being born, no matter who child it is, you know.
Definitely. How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as a person that does and demonstrated love toward others. It's not about me, you know, it's not about me. It's about, and that's what gives me joy, knowing that I've helped someone along the way. And then I know my living is not in vain.
Are you proud of me?
Yes, I am.
Every child wants to hear that, right?
And I've shared that with you. I mean, from time to time, I've told you how proud I am of you, because you are a go-getter. You know, you get something on your mind, and sometimes you get a little stubborn, but that's because I'm not one that totally believes in horoscopes, but I know that Taurus is the bull, and sometimes you can get a little bullheaded, but you are a strong person, and you persevere. You set your mind on doing something, even when I say, I think you're doing too much, you know, and you'll get too overwhelmed, and you been doing things when you set out, and I know one day you want to have your own business, and that's my hope for you as well, that you would have a very large, successful business.
And now I guess is where we turn the tables, and I tell you what you meant to me or mean to me. And I think besides every year in a Mother's Day card, when I write you the long thing about everything you've ever done for me, I think you know pretty much what you mean to me and our family. Like, you are the pillar of strength. You are the strongest woman I know. You are the most beautiful woman I know. And I can only hope to be even a portion of the woman you are. When life starts to get me down, the person I look to of how I want to go through situations is you. I'm like, my mom wouldn't let this knock her down, or she wouldn't give up. I need to stand up in this, whatever it may be. So that's who you are to us. And you have done a brilliant job with both boys, because when I'm not around, if I'm working or whatever the case, you step in and up for them, and they're crazy about you. They are crazy about you. I think I hear, are we going to Granny's house a billion times every day? When are we going back to Granny's house? And it's, I mean, the COVID stuff obviously really sucks really bad right now, but for the longest, we were not traveling or going out places, and we still don't, but we do make an effort to come and see my mom every so often, to come see her and hang out with her for a little bit. But yeah, that's who you are to us. I love you.
Oh, I love you. Thank you. Don't make me cry.
No.
Okay, so now I think it's time for me to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
When did you first find out that you would be a parent? And how did you feel?
I don't remember when I first found out that I was pregnant. I don't remember that, but I do remember when I first revealed it to you and Granny. And that was when you first moved into this house. The day of, you had just moved here. And I was like, I might as well tell her. And I told you, I think you were on the phone with Glenn when I told you. I feel like you were, or you had just got off the phone with Mr. Glenn. And I told you, and I was like, I'm pregnant. And I was so nervous to tell you because one, I was 19 years old. I was very young. I was in school to pursue being a pharmacist in pre-med. And I had already gotten a year done, had one more year. And I was ashamed, to be honest. I was ashamed. I was nervous. What am I going to do with a baby? How does this thing work? But I think your reaction helped me navigate those feelings. Like, it was more so, if we're going to get through this, you're going to be all right. And then even knowing when you had my brother, that how you raised him, that kind of helped me out, knowing that I can get through this too. But yeah.
Okay, can you describe the moment when you saw Trey for the first time?
Oh my goodness. So I had to be induced, and I was in Halloween. The next day is when I went into labor that evening, and oh my goodness, he came out and he had one eye open and one eye closed. And all I could see was this crystal blue eye from the one he had open. And I just was like, oh my goodness, he is beautiful. He is gorgeous. And then he had this brown hair, and at the tips of it, it was like blonde. It was just bright blonde. I was like, oh my, he was just a gorgeous baby. I just thought, that's the first thing I thought was, you're here and you are gorgeous. You are beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. How has it been being a parent changed you?
Being a parent means that I am no longer responsible for myself. I'm responsible for two other living, breathing beings, and I have to make sure they are fed, alive, and well. It means that I can't give up. That's the biggest thing it means for me. I know going through life, I would be ready to just throw in the towel on so many things and give up with attitude, change, whatever. I was ready to give up, throw in the towel on all kinds of stuff when the seasons changed. And becoming a parent meant I couldn't do that anymore. When I feel like giving up, I know I have to keep going for them because they're watching me.
Okay. What are your dreams for Trey?
My dreams for Trey is that he grows up into a world where people are more accepting of people with disabilities. My dream is for him to not have to continuously spell out that I have a disability or have to explain himself to people. My dream for him is to just be happy and loved. I want him to be loved and to feel loved at all points of his life. I want to see him be happy with a significant other someday. I want him to have that joy. I want him to have a fulfilling career. I want all those things for him.
Okay. And I think with the joy, I having to think about your brother, how for a long time he was totally in denial that Trey, anything was wrong with him, because Trey, even up probably to about the last couple of years, it was like, there's nothing wrong with Trey.
Yeah, and I was like, no, he has Prader. And I'm sure other parents can relate to that, having to do that with but yeah. I want him to not have to spell that out for people. I mean, it's good for people to know and be aware of Prader-Willi. But I want it to be something that he doesn't have to spell out to the stranger on the street if they notice him doing certain things. I just hope that it's not, Prader-Willi doesn't come before Trey, where that is his identity.
Okay, yes. Okay, now, do you have any favorite stories to tell about Trey?
So many.
I know.
So many. Well, I mean, just thinking back on some of his stories, one that was really dear to me, particularly, I've got two, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. So the first one is the one that's farthest back, and that was he was in the hospital, and I don't remember why because we have hospital visits on occasion, and we spent the night in the hospital, and that day was my birthday, and I just kind of threw my birthday in the trash can. Like I knew we were going to be in the hospital and possibly another day or so, and the nurse came in the room that morning, and the first thing he asked her was. He was like, am I going home today? It's my mommy's birthday. We've got to get home. And the nurse said, well, I think you're getting discharged today. And he goes, okay. He said, Mommy, we still get to celebrate your birthday. We can still have a party for you. And he was thinking outside. Here he is in a hospital bed. He's the one that's ill. And he was thinking of me and my birthday and whether I was going to be happy. So he's very compassionate. Now, funny story, one that won't get me crying is a month or so ago. I always tell the boys and people in my life, I'm always like, if it doesn't concern them, I tell them, mind your business, mind your business. And it came back to bite me. I was in the kitchen. I was boiling a pot of water. Did I tell you this story?
No.
I was boiling a pot of water in the kitchen, and I stepped out for a split second. Now, the kitchen is right next to the living room. And so Trey was on the couch watching his shows. So he's right next to the kitchen. He knows I'm boiling a pot of water. I step out. I step back in, and I see that the water is coming out of the pot, and it's smoking. And I look over at Trey, I'm like, why didn't you come get me? Why didn't you come get me and tell me the pot was boiling? Me with a plain face. And he goes, well, you always tell me to mind my business. I was like, oh my goodness. So you have to be careful what you say. And but he was absolutely right. So I have to be very careful. And I'd say it in a joking manner, but he was so serious when he told me, he's like, well, and he didn't realize what he did wrong, and he was still looking like, what? So yeah, that was hilarious. But those are my two little stories.
Okay. Yes. Now, can you tell me about one of your most difficult memories as a mom?
Most difficult memories. I think my most difficult memory was when the most difficult memory would be, my first pick on that would be when he was diagnosed. I remember, I had no clue what Prader-Willi was. None of us did. We never heard of it before. I remember the geneticist called us because right after he was born, everything was fine. I noticed that night after he was born that he wouldn't suckle because I tried to breastfeed. He wouldn't suckle. I thought, sometimes that happens. He was fine all night. He spent the night in the room. Then he went to the nursery that morning so I could freshen up, and he turned blue in the nursery when they tried to feed him. The doctor came in and told us, your baby isn't interested in doing anything. What he called him, he said he's a floppy baby. He's just laying there. When we give him a shot, he's not responding. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't want to eat anything. So about a week later, they ran some tests and they did genetic testing because the geneticist told us either it's infection or there's something genetically going on. The geneticist called us about a week later, called us into our office. And I remember specifically, we prayed outside of the room before going in. But I pretty much knew something was wrong. When we went in there, the first thing she said was, your child, this is not going to be a normal child. And I remember immediately looking at the floor and I started crying. And I believe for the rest of the meeting, I was just crying and looking at the floor. And she just ran down all these different things or possibilities. But that was the most difficult moment, was actually receiving the diagnosis. That was.
Okay. Can you tell me about one of your happiest memories as a mom?
Happiest memory, when he started walking.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, when he started walking, and he was 2 when he started walking, but we had waited so long for that, it seemed like. And I had, other people in my life that had children and getting to see their children walk, and mine still wasn't. So when Trey started walking, it was just this huge moment. Yeah, that was one of the best memories of him, because it was like, you can do it. And then he didn't stop walking, and he didn't want to sit down, and he wanted to get into things. But I was so grateful.
Yes, that was a proud moment. Okay, what family traditions would you like to see passed on from me to your children, to Micah and Trey?
Family first. As well as, like, as far as traditions, I want to keep the holidays alive. That was one of obviously right now with COVID, we can't really do a lot of the things we used to, but I want to still make them important times in their lives. With me growing up, those are my fondest memories of being either around you wrapping gifts or decorating the tree or whatever. It was something about the holidays that just brought us closer, and those are my best memories. Another tradition, family vacation every year. I really want to instill that with them, that we need that time together. I mean, they get caught up with their tablets, TV, everything else, video games, but we really need to have this family time together to soak each other up and just really delve into who we are and how we connect.
Okay.
So, yeah, I want to keep those things.
Yeah, and I think the family, even if I'm off the scene, that like the Christmas dinners and Thanksgiving, and this year, like you say, with the COVID, even with mom or granny not being here, this will be the first year of Christmas because she passed back in April. It was due to her heart condition, but it's going to be kind of sad this year. Like I said, don't want a large family gathering like we did in the past because of COVID. Yes. Okay, what do you think will be important for the PWS community to accomplish within the next decade? Okay, I think, and already beginning with this decade, I feel very positive. But one thing that, and maybe within the last couple of years, that they established the PWS clinic at the Children's Hospital. So that's a positive note because they didn't have that at the time. But as the decade is going within the next decade coming up, even with this research, this trial that Trey is going through right now, and I can see a difference that's impacting or making on his life as far as, but I don't think he's had a meltdown
in a long time.
In a good while. So that is a very positive note. I know that they're talking about there's no cure for it, but that's what, and if you have it, it may not be a cure since most of it is a genetic that happen, but treatable. And right now they're working on, with this trial he's going through, that seems to be working. And that's my prayer, that this will become nationwide. Hopefully he won't have, as long as that he won't have any meltdowns. It seems like it's even control. I noticed the difference, him coming here with the virus, he's not coming as often, like every day, but I still see the FaceTime we do, but it's curbed his appetite. He gets full quicker, and that used to not happen. So I'm seeing a change right now with what they have on trial that he's going through right now, which is a positive. And that's what I'm just hoping within the next decade there will be, is treatable to where they won't have meltdowns, to where they won't have an appetite, where they would want to sneak in foods and so forth. So that's what I'm looking at within the next decade.
That's something that I was going to say as well, is in the next decade, I'd like to see more options for the symptoms of Prader-Willi. We don't have a cure. Hopefully down the line we do find a cure, but I think it's very important to focus on the hyperphagia and the behavioral issues that they face, as well as some of the other struggles. Trey has participated in a couple of studies, and he's in one currently now. And what he's using at this point shows very promising results. And I've been very happy, as well as he has been very happy going through the trial. And I just want to see more medications come out that really do focus on the hyperphagia component, as well as the behavioral. But I do feel like there are more behavioral medications already on the market, but this one really focuses on the hyperphagia, and I'm really happy to see that. So in the coming decade, I would like to see more medications focus on that, that come out and have trials.
Okay. And two, I would like to see, I know they have, just like the walks for Prader-Willi, I would like to see that happen to make it more aware. I guess goes back to the community, aware where people, because so many people don't know what Prader-Willi is, and to make it more, to increase more awareness of that, and like the heart walk, this is Cancer Month, and something like that, to have a day, where it's more nationally known as to what it is. And so that's something I would hope to get accomplished as well. I'll tell what's my favorite word, and you can tell what your favorite word is. My favorite word is love. I feel that love conquers all, despite no matter what the test, what we're going through. Just have love in our hearts, love toward others, whether it's our children, whatever illness or disease they may be going through, even the world, what we're going through now, with this crisis. And it seems like our world, or we're getting divided and what's coming together. And that's my favorite word, is just love.
Love. Yeah, that's a good one. Mine is patience. I feel like that has become my favorite word just over the past 3 years or so. And patience is really, honestly, just the capacity to, wait for something. Not waiting blindly, but consciously waiting for answers or a conclusion. And that's what I've learned to do through this whole Prader-Willi journey. Is I don't really look at 5, 10-year, 15-year goals. I have an idea where I want to be, but at this point I'm like, let's take it one day at a time, because from day to day things can definitely change. So having that patience and that flexibility in our lives definitely helps.
Okay, and I think this question you pretty much has answered. I think even with me, has the word influence or inspired your PWS journey, and I think it inspired me. It was not a word just at random I looked at, and I've been around, went to the parent support group right after Trey, 3 months after he was, while you were at work, and I took him to that support group, and even the word love inspired me. Just seeing and being around other parents who had kids, even some parents that were there had grown kids that were in college, and that even influenced or inspired me. Oh, they went to college, and one thing I was told, that you can't read everything that you see on the internet, because sometimes they use the worst case scenario. And I think, Ashley, you had mentioned it early about that each child is different. And I was just so impressed to see these 2 young ladies that were in college. And I thought they were just there. I didn't know they actually had the PWS, until their mother, there were 2 different mothers, had 2 different college students. And I never knew that. Never would have known if they hadn't said it. So, and this is what I'm looking at down the road. Trey is where you would never even know that he has any type of disability. So that's how that's empowered me and influenced me.
And that's actually one of the things that the geneticist told us when he was diagnosed and we were in the room and she was going over everything. She told me specifically, do not go on the internet. Don't Google this. She's like, because the internet is going to give you the worst case scenario for this thing. Don't do it. But what did I do? Because I never heard of it. What did I do? I got on the internet and I think I was bawling my eyes out all night off of that. And now being on, he's 10 years old now, I really wish that I hadn't done that and thought of all the difficult stories that I had heard and just really focused on loving my baby at that time instead of being worried about what may happen in the future. So that's something for new parents to know, that, you know, you should really focus on loving your baby right then and there and not the actual diagnosis.
Yes.
And being so worried about the future.
Right. And what do I feel most grateful for in my life? I am actually grateful for Trey being a part of my life, because he, like I said, he is so, he's just different. I've never, like I said before, never have seen a child, even my other grandkids as they were babies growing up. Trey is just, and I'm just so thankful and grateful for that. And that's why I think he's going to become someone that's going to be great, his personality, because he just, everybody, he can go to a game. And I had to tell him, that's an old story to tell. We went to one of my granddaughter's volleyball games and we were a little late and they had started the game. We had to cross over these people, go past these people on the bleachers, and Trey was stopping and talking to everybody.
I'm like, person, it sounds like
I'm like, come on, we got to sit down. The game, keep it moving. But he's just a joy. He just brings joy to my heart, and so I'm grateful to have him in my life. And so, what do you enjoy about it?
Most grateful for family. You, my grandmother, when she was here, you all were really the backbone for me getting through everything that we did, our entire journey. And I don't know what I would have done without you all, honestly. So having that support means everything. I'm extremely grateful for that.
Okay. Yeah, and too, with Trey being in both your grandmother's life, he was so instrumental into her getting what I'm trying to say, healing, not so much as healing, but recuperating. He was right there for her, whatever she needed, even when she was had to do exercise and walk around when she fractured her hip. We have pictures where I just had to sit where he was walking with her, holding her hand and walking around the house and making her do her, come on, Granny, you gotta do your exercise. So he was just so instrumental in that. And that's the type of person he is, to help others when not feeling well. Okay, do you have any regrets?
I don't know if I would phrase it as a regret, but something I wish I would have done differently is something I talked about earlier, is I wish I would not have been so focused on the diagnosis early on, that I didn't focus. I mean, I did focus on loving my baby, but I think that I was just so, what do we do now? What therapies does he need? What the next steps? Where is he going? Another year, what are we gonna need? Like, I was so engrossed in that I wish I had focused more on just really soaking up and enjoying those moments, those silly moments with Trey when he was just a baby. So it's more of a wish, not a regret necessarily. But,
okay. And I have no regrets. I really don't. It's been a journey. It's been, we had our ups and downs, but that's life, you know. And it's been overall, it's been good. We're still going through that journey, traveling. You know, and there will probably be some, but gotta keep that positive attitude. And this leads to the question, where will you be, where will I be in the next 10 years, the next 20 years? Well, I tell you, in the next 10 years, since I will be 68 in another week. So that means I'll be 78 if the Lord see fit to, I'll still be, to let me be around. So I see myself still showing love, enjoying my grandkids. Some of them have, like my son's kids, they graduated from college, moving on, except the baby girl that's in the 10th grade, but one is going on to pursue her doctorate to be a doctor, and one is in communications, working at a TV station now. They just graduated. So I just want the best for my family, and my grandkids, my daughter. That's where I hope within 10 years, if the Lord sees fit to keep me around, that I'll still be in my right mind where I know that they exist and not come down. We know the disease, the dementia, the Alzheimer's. So, and still have a reasonable portion of my health and strength. Even that goes for 20 years. That would be really a blessing because they will all be grown. Even Micah in the next 20 years, he'll be grown. So anyway, that's where I would like to be if the Lord see fit, to just see my kids and to prosper and have a good living for themselves, and even them having kids. I'd be a great granny.
They're my babies. I can't picture them. Kids, grandkids. For myself, 10, 20 years, I think I've said it before, but I really try to focus on the here and now more so. I do have an idea though, next 10, 20 years, I still want to be advocating for awareness of Prader-Willi syndrome. I definitely still want to be on that end of things. I see myself, and even me and Trey and I and our family advocating for more awareness. I would love to see Trey living independently at some point, or with the least amount of interventions, honestly, would be where I would love to see our family. I would love to see that. Yeah, and hopefully I have my health and I'm in my right mind and I'm around at that point.
Okay. And I guess what this question is, if this was to be our very last conversation, God forbid, is there anything you want to say to me if this was to be our last conversation?
I think and I think we've learned from, family members passing and that type of thing, is I love you. If it was to be our last conversation, I love you. It's as simple as that.
Okay, and I think the same. You know that I do love you, and that, and I've told you this before. If this is my last breath, I want to make sure that the kids are taken care of, and I know that you will do that because that's my aspiration with Trey at the PWS, that he'll be taken care of and loved, and and the boys, the family, that everybody come together. And I know that's what your granny wanted.
Yeah.
Even she could hear us before she transitioned. And said, we're going to stay together as a family. We're going to look out for one another. We're going to love one another. And that's my same desire, to know that you're loved and keep the family together with that love. And so, is there anything that you never told me but want to tell me now? What are those hidden secrets you've been holding in that you didn't want to tell me? And you can tell me.
I feel like I tell you everything pretty much. Like, we have a pretty open book relationship. You know how I am. If anything, if it's something crazy, you're like, oh my goodness, Ashley, here you go. But it's like, I feel pretty open enough, and I think that's amazing as a child to have. I'm not a little child anymore, but I always felt like I could talk to you about even the craziest things without being beat over the head about it.
Okay.
I don't have anything. Do you have anything?
No, I really don't. I think I've shared
Okay.
my life story.
Yes.
I wanted you to know that I was still, nothing that I could tell you now, because you know about everything I've shared with you, how I grew up and so forth. Are there things about me that you've always wanted to know but have never asked? And I don't think there's nothing about you that I haven't asked you, because I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, you will.
So.
I don't think so. I think in some of the difficult times of my life, I have asked those questions that I've wanted to know. But at this point, I don't have anything. I don't. When it mattered, you told me stuff. Like that's really how it's been.
So I think that's, I've enjoyed our conversation, talking about Prader-Willi,
Trey?
PWS, and we did want Trey to come down to meet my darling.
Just to say hi.
Hey! Wait, you got to
come say hi.
Hey!
Oh, see, this is the big baby. He still wants to sit on my lap. But okay.
Hey!
You said hi. Okay, they heard you, baby. All right. Well, I think we're done. Look, Trey's getting half your hair. Lean over and say bye.
Bye.